This video found you because I'm going to tell you how to overcome anything negative you feel could ever happen in your manifestation. And it's so much more simple than you could ever imagine. And you're going to manifest a trip with your specific person spontaneously, or that's what actually happened to someone by acting this out. But spoiler alert, you can't mess up your manifestation. So if that's all you wanted to hear from this video, you're good. There's nothing you could actively do in order to mess up your manifestation. But a really awesome strategy I always like to use, and I tell everyone to do this, if you've ever encountered or done something you feel does not align you with your end state, remember, you don't have to undo it. You don't have to change it. You don't have to alter it. You didn't do anything bad. You just have to act from the new state. Because once you do this, it retroactively changes everything that has ever happened in the past. And the awesome thing, and I know this will sound crazy, but by you actually seeing that that's something that you would not do in your end state, you've actually changed states because you can't see outside of the state that you're in. So meaning if you did something that was not good and you didn't see the problem with that, it means you're still in that state. But I'll give you a really fun metaphor to use as an example. So imagine, look around you, right? You would say there's air around. And of course, that's obvious. There's air around you, there's air around me, unless you're maybe in a submarine in the ocean. But when you jump into a pool or when you go underwater, what becomes extremely apparent? The air, right? You would say now that there is a lack of air, it's really obvious that the air is around us. But when you're going through your day-to-day processes, you don't necessarily notice it. Like honestly, until I kind of brought it up, you could have answered the question that there is air around you, but how often are you truly noticing it? But that's the state that we're in. When we're doing something, when we're accidentally acting from a state we don't want, or maybe a state that we do want, we don't necessarily pay a lot of focus or attention to it. We just do it, right? That's how or why the bridge of events is always something that seems very spontaneous, very easy, and very automatic, right? It's not something that you're necessarily focusing on all the time. But if you did something, let's say you texted your specific person something that you didn't want, or maybe you called them or did something that you feel was not in your end state. Most of the time, we want to go back and we think and associate negatively with that. We think, oh, I did this. That means I'm not in the state. That means I messed everything up. That means I'm not going to be with my specific person, right? We have all these negative thoughts, but that's actually not the case at all. In experience in my own life and then with other people in coaching sessions, I've noticed that it's impossible to notice when you're in the state. When you do something, you act because you're thinking that is the best possible scenario or outcome to be acting from. And so that's why you do it. So what that means is if you are seeing and thinking that's not something I would do in my end state, and you can review it, you have technically overcome that state. Most people, though, end up stuck in that rhythm of associating with this negative outcome and not understanding that the fact that they can see it means that they are no longer associated. So right now, it's awesome because technically, if you're doing something that you is in alignment with the state, you don't know unless you can't feel bad about it. And like I mentioned, this is something that I always like to talk about in coaching sessions because a lot of the times we accidentally associate with that negative and we forget that, again, it has nothing to do with us. It's kind of like if you did something bad and then you felt bad for it, you would say the feeling that we feel bad is in the understanding that we weren't supposed to do that. But the crazy and awesome kind of, not the spoiler alert, or the success story that I kind of instigated at the beginning of the video was just one fun, crazy one based on this idea. Because I had someone who actually this morning, and the reason I was able to make kind of extra videos today was because I had someone reschedule their call to go on a spontaneous trip with their specific person. And just before this point, they were worried, and I was talking about this exact same idea. They were worried about something they said or did or were doing with their specific person. I can't go into too much detail because even in the success story, I kind of had to block out a lot of the information, but they were worried that they had to undo something. They were worried they had to go back into the past and change it, right? The way that they were talking, speaking, and responding to their specific person, they thought was not good. But I told them exactly what I'm telling you now, right? That it is not about what has happened previously, because your mind and body in reality will actually retroactively change everything to then fit in your favor. And I can actually give you another example of this. But if this is something you can do, you're going to manifest this spontaneous trip with your specific person. So basically, start getting ready for that. Where would you go? That's a really good way to contemplate the state. But I was going to give you a metaphor, but actually, I'm going to give you a technique instead. I think that's going to be a lot more beneficial to how to act in the end. Because you might be asking, okay, so how did we then act in the wish fulfilled state? How do we act from the state of already having our specific person, or act from the new state rather than act from the last or previous one? And a really simple way I like to call the time travel method, okay? And it's going to be really simple, really easy, and it's going to change the way in which you act in your day-to-day. So make sure after you try this out, literally make sure in the comments, keep me updated on your successes. But the time travel technique is this idea to imagine, let's say you're 90 years old with your specific person, okay? You guys lived the most amazing life. If you wanted children, you had your children. You're living in the most amazing place ever. You had the most fantastic wedding. You had years and years. You have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, right? That's where you are at in your life. But at the moment's notice, a genie pops up, and I feel like I use genie in a lot of my metaphors, but a genie pops up and blinks you back to today, which was the beginning of the start of this amazing romance with your specific person. Now, you want to act throughout the day as if you were like blinked or put back in time, and you have now shown up today at the beginning of the amazing romance that is with you and your specific person. And the way you're going to do this, because you might be asking, but how do we actually act this out? Think of this. Let's say you're in your room. You can be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I remember when me and my specific person started, like when our love and romance absolutely skyrocketed, I remember being in this place. And then you're going to go to your job, right? And be like, oh my gosh, I remember when I used to work here, and I didn't, I don't know if you want to have a dream job in this end state too. When I was traveling the world, making money automatically, like whatever it is, oh my gosh, I'm at school. I remember when I was at school, or I remember being at the supermarket and only shopping for one person. This is crazy. This is so wild to be back here. I remember all this. That's what you want to do throughout the day. And so a really good way to kind of begin with this is to imagine, where are you in your end state? What are you doing? What's the outcome? And then jump back to today. I love using this technique myself because it immediately puts you into that state, and it rejects or disconnects your worries from your external 3D reality. That's like the simplest way to do it. And because then, now that you are acting and like assuming and kind of like in the state of like, I remember when, you are going to disassociate from your reality and disconnect your state from it. And I can't tell you how powerful that actually is in manifestation, because you're not who you are, and you're not who your environment is, and you're not at the mercy of your 3D reality. You are the person who you want to be and who you can create. So if you can pretend as if you were blinked back in time to today, again, at the very beginning of the start of the skyrocketed romance between your specific person, how would you look at your reality? How would you view it differently? And that is going to absolutely skyrocket your manifestation. It's going to keep you in the state. It's going to have you remember that it then doesn't matter what is happening. Kind of like the example I included previously, I think in another video, where I was like, imagine you're living your love story. It's like a movie and you already know the ending. How do you kind of respond to that? But that's what I want you to do today. And then so everybody make it a goal or challenge today, that because it's always good vibes. I would always notice when I have when I have success stories, it seems like everybody manifests almost the same exact thing. So everyone's challenge today is to manifest a spontaneous vacation with your specific person. So favorite this video, bookmark it, whatever, so you can come back and let me know exactly how that's going. As well as this, thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Hopefully you like the techniques. I'm trying to use very like literal things that you can kind of take from these videos and immediately use, because sometimes acting from the state is it always is very personal. It's not like, oh, sometimes it's very personal, but what gets you into the state is not going to be what gets everyone into the state. So I want to include kind of all these ideas, concepts, and techniques that can help you in particular get in that state. So today, there's your challenge. You're going to manifest an awesome spontaneous vacation with your specific person by acting as if you jumped back in time to today to relive the romantic relationship with your specific person. How would you view your reality entirely differently? But as always, thank you so much for stopping by today. If you didn't have any questions, make sure to comment them down below. Remember, you can also reach out to me on my website at kyleaugustcoaching.com if you wanted to reach me personally. As well as this, leave a thumbs up on this video if you want. It does help me out a lot. And then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Again, remember to bookmark this video so you can come back and let me know your successes, or what recent successes have you had with your specific person, because I love whenever a lot of people, well, I mean, people either love or hate success stories. They either love them because they associate with them, or they kind of are like, why can't I get that success? But remember, always associate with successes. The more successes you share and show and post, the more that you're going to show to other people that they can absolutely do it. Like even this person in the success story in here, I joke about all the time because even in this, with this success, I joked like, because they thought they were doing not the greatest, and then they're on a spontaneous trip with their specific person. So I always joke that like, if I were to share this success story like on my channel, everyone would be like, oh my God, that's so awesome, that's so amazing, I wish I was on a spontaneous trip with their specific person. But they had just as many doubts as everyone else. So remember, if you're having doubts, that's not changing or messing up your manifestation at all. But I'll leave you with that. So try this out, let me know your results, and then I can't wait to see you in my next video tomorrow.